Hello, this is the RPG Crawler, and welcome to another Indie Game Friday, where each week I take a look at a different independent computer role-playing game. This week I'm taking a look at a strategy RPG/wargame, The Qaedon Wars, The Story Begins. Developed by Ian C. Pook and published by Paphian Games, it was released on Steam back on September of 2019. The Qaedon Wars draws inspiration from turn-based wargames and classic fantasy settings, and concentrates on systems, story, and gameplay over, well, I gotta be honest, well, pretty much everything else. I'm gonna be straight up. If you can't handle an interface and graphics that resemble one of the early unit marker-based wargames, then you may as well stop the video here. The Qaedon Wars has to be one of the clunkiest, borderline ugliest games that I've actually enjoyed playing for quite some time. That having been said, I did enjoy it, so let's take a look at it. In terms of story, long ago an archmage unleashed a great evil upon the land of Qaedon, and I have no idea how to pronounce it. The main character, whatever it ends up being, because you can select from several different types, has visions of a guardian of light. Now said person must gather allies, defeat the beasts that roam the land, and reform the great houses of Qaedon. When you start a new campaign, you can adjust many aspects of gameplay, tweaking the rules to whatever you feel up to, even down to the way spells and combat work. It's really something rather impressive all in all, and makes it feel like almost one of the sort of systems where the rules of the game are completely exposed to tinkering. You can then choose a hero. Most of the heroes in the game conform to a number of basic units, which each have a race and a class, or a combination of classes, which govern what abilities they start with and what armor and weapons they can use. You may then customize the character further, changing their name and allocating 20 points of character abilities through their stats and abilities. Qaedon Wars uses a point-based system in which different abilities, resistances, etc. all cost different base rates to improve, and the cost to improve increases the higher the stat or resistance or whatever you're improving goes. And there are a lot of abilities and stats, all of which can be improved through these points. Base abilities include hit points, mana points, recovery rate, melee attack damage and strength, melee defense strength, ranged versions of those, resistance to arcane, divine, and planar magic, saving throws against magic in general, evasion, spotting range and scouting chance that determines when you see enemy units, sneaking, which allows you to approach without being detected, and disarm traps/open locks. Individual movement costs for various terrain can also be adjusted individually as well, so you can specialize a unit in a terrain type. Combat effects can be adjusted based on terrain type as well, per character, including attack, strength, and defense in a particular terrain type. So if you wish to create a highly customized character for quick movement and offense in a very, very specialized type of terrain, you can do that. You can also adjust the character's protection from various types of attacks. Characters also get a few abilities based on their class. Things like spellcasting and weaponry types are here, but also various movement types, which may be improved, again with character points. Each unit or character also has a full inventory and equipment system. There's slots for 2 melee weapons or shields, a ranged weapon and ammunition, a helmet, 2 shoulder slots, an amulet, cloak, 2 bracers, torso armor, a belt, pants, gloves, 2 rings, and boots. Characters also have a spell book, depending on what magic schools they have access to. This includes 9 levels of spells, each with a limited number of spells that can be memorized during a particular mission. Memorized spells simply consume mana when cast. Once in the game, you're dropped into an overworld menu which allows you to select one of a few missions based on how far into the storyline you've progressed. Each mission has its own objectives, as well as optional objectives which can be accomplished for various rewards. Once you select a mission, you're dropped into the mission map. Mission maps seem to be somewhat randomized, not the maps themselves, mind you, those are static and hand-drawn. They remain the same, and once you're past the first map, you can actually select where each unit deploys, but within the actual map itself, some encounters seem to vary from instance to instance of the map, at least in my experience, as well as the absolute location of some objectives within a few parameters. For instance, the first map especially expects you to get followers from various buildings you encounter, and it seems that they're in different buildings each time. That can keep you from simply memorizing the fastest way through certain missions. And I'm not sure how far into the campaign that actually progresses. Each mission map is simply a hex-based map that you can maneuver around on. You can undo movement provided that you haven't actually taken an action yet, and the status bar at the top of the screen indicates how much money you have and the data on that particular hex that you're mousing over, as well as any unit in that hex, so you can get a quick overview of what you're looking at. The turn indicator is also at the top of the screen, while at the bottom of the screen you have a hotbar for the various spells your selected unit may cast, as well as options to zoom the map in and out. There is a unit menu, a sneak mode toggle, a spellbook, icons to access inventory and to trade with nearby units, which actually doesn't consume an action or end the turn, and a button to review the unit's profile. On each turn, you basically move your units in any order that you wish. Each unit may move once and perform one action, although there are options to tweak that in the menu. Once you're done, you can collect the green arrow on the right side of the screen to end of the turn. If a unit hasn't moved or acted that turn, then they recover hit points and mana based on their recovery stat. Moving from hex to hex costs movement based on terrain, and stopping on a chest, often dropped by defeated humanoid units, will allow you to loot it. Stopping on an event tile, such as a village or hut, will automatically trigger whatever events are within. And that's basically the main bulk of the game. It is a turn-based war game from there on. Where it differs is in the various equipable loot slots, which you can pass between your character units, and between campaign missions you can actually improve your characters just as if they were role-playing game characters. Between missions you can buy new units, bank character equipment, sell equipment from the bank, and buy new gear to distribute amongst your units, as well as train your characters. As you adventure in each mission, each unit gets a certain amount of experience, but levels aren't actually gained automatically. Rather, between missions you can pay gold as well as a certain number of their accrued experience to either gain a level or gain additional abilities. Gaining a level gives you additional character points to spend to improve your existing abilities, just like at character creation, and each additional level costs increasing amounts of experience and money to train. After preparing for your next mission, you are then put back to the world map and given a choice of the next mission to undertake in the story. And that's that. I mean, it's basically a fantasy war game with RPG advancement. The gameplay is solid, the system is a bit complex, but makes for some interesting advancement choices. The levels are actually quite challenging, so unless you're very decent at these games, that's something to watch out for. So that brings me to the graphics. The interface is menu-driven, but pretty primitive at that. It really does feel like something out of the 90s, and I'm not talking the late 90s either, I'm talking like the early 90s. Graphics basically consist of still unit cards sliding around a campaign map in a manner similar to old-school pen and paper war games, although there are animated projectiles to represent attacks. Music is minimal at best, and the sound cues tend towards the grating side of things, but are thankfully rather sparse. So yeah, the Qaedon Wars is not going to win anyone over by virtue of its graphical presentation. But it does harken back to the old days of wargaming, so if you are a fan of that aesthetic, you may well enjoy it. It is, however, one of those games that is worth playing if you enjoy the strategic aspect of it and the underlying system complexity. When I fired it up for this review, I initially saw the presentation and almost immediately shut it off. However, I decided to give it just 5 to 10 minutes, and then the next thing I knew, it was 2 hours later. So if you're into that sort of gameplay and that sort of like just another turn-style playability appeals to you, I do recommend it, at least for that niche that enjoy that kind of thing. But, maybe get it on sale. And do note that it seems like it's just the first in a planned series, so there is that. So it looks like there's many hours of gameplay in the thing, and then they're expecting a sequel at some point. And on that note, I'm going to wrap it up here. This has been the RPG Crawler with Indie Game Friday, the Qaedon Wars, The Story Begins. As always, I'll put a link to where you can pick it up in the description below. If you like what you've seen, remember to leave a like, comment if you got any feedback, and subscribe for more RPG content, both tabletop and computer. Until next time, take care and goodbye. And if you're still watching this far, I'd like to take a moment to thank those who have supported this channel via Patreon or direct donations throughout the years, without which this channel could not have lasted as long as it has. For those who are feeling particularly generous, you can still support my work through Patreon and now through Subscribestar as well, through the links in the description below.